So hopefully everyone can hear me. This is a fantastic audience, so thank you. My name's Doug Bewsher. I'm the CEO of Leadspace. I've been running this company for the last 4 years, based between Israel, which is where we have the technology center, and I'm based in San Francisco, despite my English accent, which is where we have the front office. But prior to that, I was in marketing for a rather long time, ran marketing for Salesforce.com, ran marketing for Skype, both on the B2C and the B2B side of the house, and sometimes talking about business to business is the ugly cousin of business to consumer. But that's what I want to talk about today, and really about how AI is transforming how people think about generating business in business to business type companies. But let me just kind of start a little bit about the genesis, which is when I started marketing back for Unilever in the day, based in London, I actually make ads like this. So anyone recognize this ad? Anyone as old as I am, right? Yeah, so this is Timotei shampoo, which is just fantastic marketing. And we spent as marketeers all of our time thinking about how to build fantastic ads. How do we create the right emotional imagery and all that kind of stuff? If you look at a marketeer today, they spend their life looking at this kind of stuff, right? They're looking at a lot of data and intelligence. They're trying to measure stuff. And interestingly, if you go and survey marketeers, people who do marketing today, and you ask them, they actually spend more of their time these days on data and data management and measurement, when in fact what they really want to build is great advertising campaigns, great marketing campaigns. And so the question for me is really kind of what's behind all of that. And what I'd say is it's not actually a change in what everyone is trying to achieve. It's just a different way of doing it, because at the core of all marketing and actually sales and marketing is knowing your customer, figuring out how you really understand that customer. We used to do it with a lot of surveys. Now we have an incredible amount of data and information to be able to figure that out. Now, we've seen this transformation happen on the B2C side of the house with the companies like Facebook, Google, others, who have really built these massive companies based around the data and intelligence they have so that they can create engaging, relevant communications with their customers. But what's happened on the B2B side? I still come to events like this and everyone tries to give me their business card and say, here you go, here's some information to connect with. Isn't that kind of crazy in today's world that we're still doing that? But if you look at the B2B technology stack, we're starting to see a change. So back in the days, we had companies like Oracle and Siebel, which started basically as CRM platforms, right? Just the fact that we used to keep pens and papers and now we have to stick our information. Then we had the evolution of the cloud, right? And Salesforce obviously driving some of that change in terms of information in the cloud. Then we moved on to a lot of tools that help drive customer engagement. So these would be the kinds of tools like marketing automation platforms, sales automation platforms, some of the ones up here, Eloqua, now owned by Oracle, Marketo, now owned by Adobe. But that was customer engagement. But we're really entering a new stage now, right? The stage of intelligence, right? So if all I do is I go out and I buy Salesforce and I buy HubSpot and I stick those together, but I don't have the right information and the right intelligence in those systems, then they are just dumb tools. And so I think what we're starting to see, and you can see this with the focus that obviously Salesforce is making with Einstein, with Microsoft's acquisition of LinkedIn, obviously what we're doing, is really this transformation to say, how do I get the right data and intelligence to be able to power my B2B sales and marketing activities? Now, what's the challenge of all of this is always the following, which is there's a lot of noise, and especially that's true in B2B. So the real power then of AI and what we're trying to do is how do we drive the signal from the noise? How do we deploy AI to do that? I'll often say that all we are doing as Leadspace is what a good salesperson does and automating it, which is look at all that data, figure out what does it mean, and figure out the right action to take. Now, Leadspace was founded out of the Israeli NSA. If anyone's watched Fauda on Netflix, which I encourage, you know who these guys are. But NSA obviously drives a lot of intelligence work and AI kinds of understanding. And I would argue that unless you find the AI solution that is very specific to the business need, you won't see success. This is not about Watson. This is not about general AI. This is about how do you apply it. So if you think about the problem in NSA, covering terrorism, for example, the real challenge here is how do you do three things. First is you want to drive precision. You want to be very specific. So what does that mean? It means that if I'm in a room of 1,000 people and I'm looking for the bad guy, I really just want to know who the 20 people to focus on are. I don't actually want to know a bit more about everyone. And the second is coverage. If I'm in a room of that 1,000 and I want to know the bad guy, I better make sure that I don't miss the bad guy. Right? So precision and coverage are very important. Actually very different from a B2C problem where I want to know a bit more about everybody. And then finally, integration. Unless I can take action because of that, then it's all meaningless. Right? So if you think about that, that's very analogous, actually, to what we are trying to do as B2B sales and marketing professionals. What I want to know is not, if I'm standing in this group of people, a little bit more about all of you. I'm sure you're all lovely people. But I do want to know who are the 10 people in here who are likely to be either influencers or buyers of my product. I want to know you with high precision, and I want to be able to take action about it. So it's very use case specific AI, and I think as we think about how AI is going to see adoption in real businesses' processes, it's really, really important to think about, are we doing that on a specific way, not on a general way? And I'd encourage everyone not to think about it in a generalized way, but in a specific way. So what does that mean customers can actually do in the B2B sphere right now? Well, three basic things that you can do with an AI-driven customer data platform for B2B. First, instead of buying a whole load of data, and I had a number of questions on this before this, there's one platform that brings all the data and intelligence that you need into one place. It's extremely hard for people today to keep up with the explosion of data that exists, whether that's data from companies like Dun & Bradstreet, or what you can get off the internet, or data that might exist in other data repositories as well. So first is, how do you bring all of that together and create a single source of truth? And too many people today are in a situation where they've got masses of data that is not connected in meaningful ways. The second step, and perhaps the most important step, is how do I take that data, all of that vast amount of information, and turn it into signals? A classic case at the moment is, many of you might have heard of this concept called intent, right? Which is the ability to look at all the behavioral data that exists and figure out who's going to be interested in my product and service so I can reach out to those people. Doing that means you've got to be very clever about how you bring the data and intelligence together and draw signals out of that, right? And that's the whole concept of the AI, the ontology, and all the clever stuff that we've got the team in Israel building, and that is really a sort of expertise in the AI space. And then thirdly, and it's really critical as well, is to drive that into actual action. So at the end of the day, if I do all of that clever work and I don't do anything with it, why do we care? And I'd encourage everyone to go back to the old mantra of CRM, which is test and learn and improve, test and learn and improve. So if anyone is thinking about how do I think about AI, especially in a B2B, but just generally, think first about how do we get traction quickly and test results. So we're starting to see big companies see real results of this. And I just want to give you one example of this, which I think is quite helpful to see the way. So Salesforce, obviously one of our customers in terms of how they're doing things, a lot of the breakthrough today that's happening in B2B is going back to the old school of sending everyone direct mail, which is kind of strange, but there you go. But why does that matter? Because I'm sending a very high value piece of content to somebody. But unless I could know with high precision information about who are the right people, targeting to be able to target exactly the right person, make sure it reaches them because I have the right information on that person, and to be able to then give them something that leads to action, it won't succeed. So we're seeing a lot of companies really use AI, transform the way they use data intelligence, and get away from just collecting business cards to hopefully doing more intelligent, more relevant, more engaging marketing for their customers. So thank you very much, and I'll be part of the panel later on.